Okay, so it's on record. Awesome. So how can I help you?
So for case one, I guess I was to start out looking for an overall format and template. Is
Yeah.
there a good reference point to do that from?
Reference point. What do you mean by that?
Is there, I guess, is there any examples of other templates, like the overall layout that you want for this case study?
So basically, you are going to whatever draft a memo, right? So it's probably just a memo letter, right? So just like some other writings, right? You are communicating your message ideas to another person. So you probably just think about how to write that letter, right? It's just a letter, and you probably will use some headings, right? So if there are a list of topics that you think important to talk about, so you probably want to make your writings easy to understand. So you probably put the headings, right, and to talk about that issue, and then use another headings talk about another issue, right? So I guess there is no magic template that you can use. It's just about you are writing a letter, right? Just write a letter and make sure you explain all the important accounting issues.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay.
There's
Yeah.
no formal template, so that's good to know.
Yeah. And make sure you are not writing to me, right? You are assuming the role, whatever assigned by the case. And so you are, when you are writing a case, you are not writing to the professor, you are writing to that person in the case, right? So keep
Right.
that in mind who you are, right? You are not a student. The case has assigned a role to you, right? So make sure you have to wear that hat, okay?
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
and because it says because of these various interests in PIP, I will require audited financial statements to determine how much money is owing to each party.
Mm-hmm.
That's the last thing that Darth says.
Yeah.
And then it says required, prepare a memo for your files summarizing the financial accounting issues raised in your conversations with Darth.
Yeah.
So it are we doing the full audit or we're only doing the financial accounting issues to
Yeah.
Darth?
That's a very good question, right? The question is, did Darcy ask you to prepare an audited financial statement? Did Darcy, in the case, did Darcy ask you to do the job?
Yeah, I will require audited financial statements to determine how much money is owing to each party. He says that
Um,
at the end of the case.
okay, just give me 1 second. Case three. Okay, so if you read the first line of the case, you have just met a new client, Darcy, who has come to you for some accounting advice. Okay, so if they come to you for accounting advice, it's different than ask you to do a job, right? So if the client wants you to do the audit financial accounting, audited financial statements, that's a different job from advice. If they ask you advice, they will just ask you verbally, probably, tell them something, give them some directions, suggestions. It's here, it doesn't seem to me that you have to prepare an audit financial statement because he may ask some other companies. He said, I will require audited financial statements, right? But he didn't say that he will require that audited financial statements from you. He could go somewhere else to hire auditors, right? Maybe you are a consulting firm, you are not able to perform this kind of engagement. So I think the opening sentence is very clear that so this Darcy come to you, okay, for some accounting advice, okay. So I think that's the key. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, that helps clarify quite a bit because that was one of my biggest questions out of it. Then is basically the purpose of this is to give a snapshot of the financial accounting or yeah the financial accounting issues that we see.
Yeah. But then why if you are not required to do the financial auditing work, why do you think the case gave you this information? this information is given for a purpose, right? So Darcy will require audited financial statement, right? So this information is given for a purpose, right? It's important, right? This tells you something. So you want to think about the conceptual framework, okay? So what does this information mean? Translating this information to the conceptual framework, right?
Okay, that's very helpful then.
Yeah.
It's basically it's a starting point for us is what it is. It's telling us to dig deeper.
Well, this is you think about the objectives, right? The user's objectives. So so if the user's objectives is to eventually they need a financial statement for audit, right? For audit, right? So you have to think about it. This is the user's ultimate financial objectives, right? They needed to have a audited financial statement, and then you think about the why, right? Why the users wants that. You are only giving advice. You don't have to prepare anything, right? You don't have to prepare financial statements. You were given a bunch of information. You just want to comment on this information. What are the possible accounting issues? You want to bring attention to those issues, right?
Yeah, that helps clarify quite a bit.
Yeah.
What are the issues? So he came to us for advice, and the purpose of our memo is to pick apart the issues we see and give him advice based on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one question my group member had in particular was, do we need to speak about the adverse and moral hazard for the case?
So basically, if you think that those two concepts are relevant, you will talk about it. If you don't think they are relevant, don't talk about it, right? So the idea is, I know by the end of the CPA exam, you're going to learn lots of knowledge, right? You're going to learn lots of topics, knowledge from different courses, right, over the time. And in the CPA exam, okay, in the case, you just have to think what are the knowledge are relevant. In this case, did I spot anywhere that would make raise a concern on the information asymmetry, right? Do I need to make a difference between moral hazard versus adverse selection? Is this important topic to this case, right? That's something you want to consider, right? So it's not because we have learned this, you have to use it, right? That's not the reason, right? If you have to use it, the only reason is because you think it's relevant to this case, right? So don't feel obligated to apply all the knowledge you have learned so far in the early chapters. Only apply your knowledge when you think it's fit.
Okay, that's pretty helpful as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, those were the bulk of my questions. Like I said, I was just looking for some clarification to make sure we were headed in the direction.
Okay.
But that helped quite a bit.
Yeah. So basically, I can give you all the class, you and the class, a hint here. So basically, you want to talk about the users, their need, objectives, right? And then you want to talk about certain topics, right? So the topics including the royalty rights, right? The royalty rights, and what else? The sales of the reservation rights, the sales of the reservation rights. So this is about I think they sell the seats, right? The reservation. Is that right? Let me see. Yes, right? Because the charge for those good seats, right? The good seats, if you want to reserve those seats, you have to pay now. Okay, so there are the reservation fees on that. and also sales of movie rights, right? Sales of the movie rights, the government grant. What else? The bank loan and startup cost. So those are the things you want to touch are the important topics.
Okay.
You have to analyze those issues, right? And you want to think about it, right? You know, what are they, right? You think about the financial statement elements. Are they financial? Are they assets, liability, income, expenses, right? How are you going to recognize it? How are you going to measure it, right? Those are the things. Remember, we talked about it in the conceptual framework. So yeah, there are some discussions, right? You know, if you think it's asset, why is it asset, right? There's a definition of asset, right? And then you have to apply the definition of asset, right? To see if whatever you're talking about, is this asset? No or not, right? If it's not asset, is this income? So whatever, right? You have to think about these situations.
Okay. And you said 1,000 words max?
Yeah, 1,000 words max. So you know if you want to single line versus double space, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But I want you guys to write concisely, right? Make sure you are learning how to communicate. So you are be able to write concisely. That's really important.
Okay.
Yeah, in the CPA exam, there's a time limit for each case. For example, one case may only have 60 minutes, 1 hour, right? So within that 1 hour, you have to read the case multiple times and prepare a response, right? You can't keep writing all the time. So make sure we are learning from now how to express our ideas efficiently and effectively.
Yeah, that sounds like really good practice, actually, for the real thing, and we got to do that.
Yeah, because 1,000 words should be enough for you to cover all the major points, right?
Okay.
So yeah, I'm not looking for any numbers, okay? I'm not looking for any like statements or any numbers. I'm looking for your discussions on the important accounting issues, right? On the important accounting issues. Yeah, for example, right, the royalty rights, okay, the royalty rights. So is this an income item or it's a capital item, right? Is this an income item or it's a capital item? So, you know, things like this, right? You want to have discussion about this.
Okay. And so, yeah, probably not, like there's going to be no repetition, it sounds like, with 1,000 words. Like in a lot of case studies, it almost gets, you start off with like this big executive summary, and then it kind of like it starts off what you did, and then you break everything down, and then you come back to it. Whereas this one, you probably just want it to be almost said once, right? Like each point.
Yeah, in the beginning, you are talking to this person. You first analyze the users, the need and the objective. Okay, who are the users? What are the needs and the objectives, right? And then you talk about all the specific issues. Okay, you have to give the accounting advice, right? Make sure if you recommend something, right, you have make sure you make it clear. I recommend, right? I recommend this is being treated as income and recognized in the future years, something like that, right? So when you conclude each topic, right, the accounting issues, make sure you recommend, right? How one actually recognize this revenue, right? You want to give the recommendation.
Okay.
Yeah, and also, and then think about it. I also made a video about the income statement, right? There are something about, discontinued operations versus continued operations. There are maybe some unusual items, right? Unusual items. So when you are talking about the topics, you also want to think about it, how you're going to present it on the financial statement. Okay, so for example, the sale of movie rights, right? So if you are thinking, is this revenue, right? And is this a gain? Is this an unusual item that you don't regularly have? So basically, you could also consider how these items will be presented on the financial statement. You don't have to prepare it, but you can advise your client about these important issues, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So again, for government grant, right? Is government grant is attributable to income? Do you consider this as the income or it's a capital, right? Or it's a capital. So with income, right? Income, you recognize it over time. Capital is kind of like your assets, right? Right. So do you recognize these items on the income statement as income, or would you recognize it on the statement of financial position as a long-term asset, as a capital, right? So this is all the things you may want to consider.
Okay. Okay. I guess that does help. So
Yeah.
go over each of those important topics that you listed, and then break it down.
Yeah, this is your first case writing. I think it's fair for me to give you some directions. So I think I'm helping you out with listing all these important topics that you should talk about, right?
Yeah, it's very helpful.
Yeah, so just think about it, right? Is this asset, liability, income, expenses, right? Think about it for each item transaction. What is this thing, right? Sometimes it's a gray area, right? You want to use your definition just to see. Yeah, so.
Okay. I guess, is there anything else to add?
Royalty rights, I think that's maybe the most important topic. Make sure you do a good job in the discussion for the royalty rights.
Okay.
Yeah, and what else? Yeah, the other topics, the startup costs, right? So sometimes you may have to do some research. Okay, I understand that you just started the chapter, right? Certain concepts, certain things we haven't covered yet. But this is also, a way to help you with your research ability. So if you want to, for example, startup cost, right? Startup cost. So this is a new company, right? They have lots of initial investment, right? The initial cost, which is defined as the startup cost, right? What are the potential accounting issues involved with the startup cost, right? Okay, so maybe you want think about that, right? Think about it. Are these expenses have been incurred in the startup phase of operation? Okay, can they be recognized in the current year, or you need to defer these expenses to the future years, right? The expenses recognition, remember? Do you recognize this cost in the current year, or you need to recognize it in the future years for the startup cost, right? So things like that, right? Revenue recognition, expenses recognition. So yeah, if there's something you really don't know, make sure you try to look it up online. There are through the library, we do have the CPA handbook that you can try to look it up, right? Maybe you can learn something from there. Yeah, but for the most of the case, you just think about it, recognition, right? Recognition, think about it, when to recognize it, and think about classification. Is this an income or is this a capital, right? So yeah, so and make sure you do a good job with the overview, right? To analyze the users and the needs and the objectives. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Do you have any other questions?
No, that was everything and a lot more. So that's very, very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. I'm glad that it's useful information.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay. Well, good luck if you don't have any other question. So I'm going to post this video so that everyone else get a chance to watch.
Perfect. I hope they get a lot from it as well.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Well, you have a good day. Huh?
You too. Bye.
Yeah, bye.